Hey guys, Jay here, smarthelping.com. I've got a interesting concept to discuss. It's called negative churn. It relates to primarily SaaS businesses, but any recurring revenue business it could be relevant. And it's kind of mystical. People have talked about it. It's a little bit difficult to understand. I've built one template that would allow you to actually enter assumptions that make sense for tracking like what has to be true in order to achieve negative churn. But I just want to discuss let's just talk about what it is here and how to calculate it. So negative churn, in order to understand that, you need to know what regular churn is. Regular churn is, let's say you have a SaaS business with $500,000 in monthly recurring revenue, and let's say the next month you have of these customers that existed that were purchasing 500,000 in MRR. Let's say now you have 480,000 the next month. So what that means is you've now lost some customers and their corresponding MRR or monthly recurring revenue you've lost. Okay, and it doesn't really. So let's say this was 100 customers and now this is 98. So the average value per account was for the month here was 5,000. Here it's 4,900. So you've lost some customers, though you're also making less per customer. So your churn rate in this case is just 20,000. So churn is denominated as usually a positive number, 20,000. And that's a bad thing. So churn, bad, you're losing money. Negative churn is a negative of a bad thing, which makes it a positive. So if this churn were to be negative, that means you actually lost customers but gained revenue. So what that means is, let's look at the same scenario. Let's say you had 100 customers and then the next month you had 98, but your MRR from these 100 was 500,000. We just paste this. And then let's say now it's 501,000. Okay, what just happened? Well, your average revenue per account went up by about $112. So that's saying, okay, out of these 100 customers, we were making 5,000 on average per customer. Now we have less customers, but now we're making more per customer. So we've upsold them, they've spent more for the month, what have you. Now it's very difficult to achieve, and it depends on the business. Some things it might not make sense if there's not any upsells or any other ways for customers to spend money, um, other than simply a single pricing tier. Then it might not be as relevant. But if you have multiple pricing tiers, or if you have like an enterprise SaaS business where the average contract value can change significantly based on the renewal and the terms, there's a lot of things that could result in negative churn being possible. But the bottom line is you're getting negative churn means now we're getting more money from less customers. So look at that. Now we have a negative churn rate for this period. And I'll say this is period 1, period 2. So now, instead of a positive churn rate, I have a negative churn rate, which is good because it's a negative of a bad thing. It's like saying, you know, uh, I had a uh, a negative loss essentially. Um, I was trying to think of a better analogy, but I couldn't on the spot. So here, and let's say again in next month, maybe you have a huge loss of 80 customers, but then the ones that stayed, maybe now they're worth 520,000. Now you've dramatically increased the revenue per account. You have 19,000 in negative churn, which means you've made more money from the existing customers of the previous period than the money you lost from the churned customers here. So the churn rate is still going to be positive on the customer count. So you lost, in this case, we lost from period 2 to period 3, we lost 18 customers, but from the remaining customers of this cohort, we have an extra 19,000 in monthly recurring revenue. This does not count new customers. So here, this is only looking at this cohort of 100 over time. We're not looking at how many customers we added in period 2 or period 3. That's not how churn's calculated. You know, well, I mean, technically you could say, let's say you added some customers and lost some. Your churn is still going to be calculated on what happened from the previous customers in the previous period. So if you added, like, let's say you added, in this case, your churn was 20,000, but you added 5 customers. Well, technically you might have a higher monthly recurring revenue from those new customers added, but the customers that were lost would create what this churn rate is, and that's against the previous period customers. So that is going to be, no matter how many customers you add in this period, it's not going to affect what this churn rate is, positive or negative. You're just looking at existing customers in the previous period, and of those existing customers, what happened in the next period. How many were left of them, and what was the total revenue gained from them. And then now, let's say you added 100 customers in this period, you would just add, that would then be the new basis for period 3. And you say, okay, of these customers, what was my revenue? What was the count? And then in period 3, now what was the new count after a month has gone by? How many did you lose? And what was the total revenue from the existing customers from the previous period? Well, that's probably about all I could say about negative churn. If you want to check out some of the financial models that I've done in the space, let's see, you go to SaaS tech models, this one right here, B2B, B2C SaaS financial model, varying contract terms, has logic. I don't know if you can see this if I zoom in, but right here, percentage increase in contract value at renewal. So this allows you to say how much that percentage has to go up at each renewal period in order for that new money gained per customer to outweigh the churn from old customers. And if we see the visual, let's see, we have it, average monthly churn, this is customers, average monthly churn dollars. So this, if you had negative churn, this would actually be negative, and that would mean you earned more revenue from the customers that stayed compared to the revenue lost from the customers that left. Okay, that's all I got for you. I build financial models for a living. If you want to hire me, I do custom work, $165 an hour. If you want to buy all my models, I've built hundreds over the years. You can buy the full library, template library for $999. It includes all the models I've ever built. Download available instantly after purchase. Alrighty, well, that's all I got for you. And I'd love anybody that wants to know more about different financial structures or logic. I've built so much logic for so many different businesses. So I've got the best in practice modeling techniques. And let me know if you want to hear more content about specific modeling, building models for different businesses, and what's the best practice, and how do you do it. Alrighty, guys, take it easy and like and subscribe.